Okay. I think we're now all online. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom KLS. Shabbat Shalom to all our friends watching us on different channels for this Shabbat Devarim, Shabbat Chazon, because the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av, which starts tomorrow evening. So we're going to start our service on page 69, and over to you, Natalia.
Thank you. In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel, in all lands and ages, we welcome the Sabbath by kindling these lights. I'm going to stand. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lechadlik ner shel Shabbat. Happy is the people by whom the Sabbath is sanctified. Happy are those who rejoice in its blessings, for it comes with a message of God's abiding love, as one who brings good tidings and publishes peace.
You're muted.
You're muted, René.
Right. Okay, this is what happens when you forget to unmute yourself. Gosh. Okay, we are on page 70. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, לצור אישנו נקדמה פניו בתודה. נריה, נריה, לצור אישנו בזמירות נריה לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. Page 71.
That's me, isn't it? So Psalms 96. Sing a new song to the Eternal One. Sing to your Creator, all the earth. Sing to the Eternal One, praise God's name. Proclaim God's salvation from day to day. Declare God's glory among the nations, God's wonders among all the peoples. For great is the Eternal One, and greatly to be praised, to be revered above all other gods. For all of them are mere idols, but the Eternal One made the heavens. Honor and majesty are in God's presence, strength and beauty in God's sanctuary. Acclaim the Eternal One, all races and peoples. Acknowledge God's glory and might. Worship the Eternal One in the beauty of holiness. Tremble in God's presence, all the earth. Declare among the nations, God reigns, the world stands firm. God judges the peoples with justice. Let the heavens be glad and the earth rejoice. Let the sea and all that fills it roar out praise. Let the field exult and all that is in it. Let the trees of the forest shout for joy before God, who comes to rule the earth, to rule the world with righteousness and the peoples with truth.
We turn now to page 76. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi Amlachim, Akadosh, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. לה 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 יה לה לה יה לה לה יה לה 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 יה לה 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 יה לה 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 יה לה 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 יה לה 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 לה. Page 78, ידיד נפש, אהב הרחמן, משור עבדך אל רצונך, soul's beloved source of mercy, draw your servant to your will. Let me leap like a deer to stand in awe before your glory. Your love is sweeter than the taste of honey. ידיד נפש, אהב הרחמן, משוך עבדך אל רצונך, ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל, ישתחווה אל מול הדרר, ירב לו ידידותיך, מנופת צוף וכל טעם, יגאלנה ופחוס חביב עלי, את סוכת שלומך. תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מהר אהוב כי במועד, וכוננו כי מעולם. יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה 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 לה, יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה 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 לה, יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה 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 לה, יא לילה לה לה לה, יא לילה לה לה, יא לילה לה 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 לה. So I can see on my Facebook feed that our service is watched on the other side of the ocean. So a friend of Natalia, Sisi Calvo, is here. So she's here to support you. So Shabbat Shalom, Sisi. We have also Alexandra and the Ganze Mishpoche in Wilton. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Sarah and Joshua are here. Carol Goldring is here as well. Shabbat Shalom, Carol. Sibyl and very warm Warwickshire. We're just saying earlier that, you know, we're complaining when it's hot and we're complaining when it's cold. Basically, we're never happy. Maybe it's just because it changes so quickly, so we don't have time to adapt. That's probably one of the reasons. Jill, Norman, and Joyce, good to have you with us tonight. And all the other people. And Julie is here as well. And all of those who I don't see their names, Shabbat Shalom to you. And we turn now to page 89 for the Psalm 92. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד, עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. And now Lechadodi on page 91, Lechadodi 91. Come, my friends, the bride to meet, the Sabbath day enjoy to greet. Always, which tune? Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. שהמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מכוך הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורר קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Page 92. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets a star in the courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and you separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך ותא, עמך ותא, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Turn to page 94 for the Shema 94. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשורבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Page 95. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
All these we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt, forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly, we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלי, נורא תהילות אוסף אלי. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Russell, over to you.
Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and our deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth.
Amen. Page 97. Adonai שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מת מטריו להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת על יחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you, in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל לא תהיה לעולם, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. We are at the top of page 100.
Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל ואת כל העמים בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום. And we take now a moment for private prayer meditation. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la la. Oh say shalom bimromav. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. I can see that we have our friends who have joined on Facebook, Pauline Levis, Jason Brown, and we also have Andre Fries is here as well. So good to have you with us, even if I can't see you physically, but soon, next week we have an Erev Shabbat in the sanctuary led by the choir and by Simo Kelly. And next week, we also have a new members Shabbat, which is in the synagogue with a service and food. So we're getting there. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it doesn't really matter. We enjoy the time as we have now. So I don't know if you've seen today the footage of the floods in Western Europe, how it impacted the entire communities in Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium. How these floods, like I think in England, I think last week as well. Huh? So suddenly your life is completely turned upside down, and your entire universe is completely upside down. I can't think about another way to talk about it. And wanted to relate it to connect it to a major festival that starts on tomorrow evening, which we don't really mark, and I will explain you a bit why, which is Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, which is the 9th of the month of Av. And Tisha B'Av is a day of mourning, which is almost equivalent to Yom Kippur. So it's such a serious day during which we mourn the destruction of both temples of Jerusalem. There's also closer to us in history, the Jews were expelled from England in 1290 on Tisha B'Av, or from Spain in 1492 on Tisha B'Av. And the custom is to go to the Kotel, to the Western Wall in Jerusalem, and to sit there and to read the entire night the lamentations of Prophet Jeremiah, which is a very moving. If you're in Israel once in the summer, go to Jerusalem, to the Western Wall, because it's such a moving experience. You have all this group of people coming to the plaza there and sitting in circle and singing the book of Lamentations in their own traditions. So you have the different Ashkenazi traditions, the different Sephardi traditions, and they all create a sense of kind of a mix, and it's a very sad day. So I've always felt quite uncomfortable with Tisha B'Av, and I found an article which was published in JTA actually a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, by Rabbi Adina Lewitis, and the article is called "Jerusalem is a Thriving City. Why on Tisha B'Av do we mourn its destruction?" And more than just about Tisha B'Av, I think there's a very good reflection to having when we face tragedy, we went through a soft, globally a soft tragedy, except of course for those who lost loved ones. For them, it was a sheer and very, very painful one. But it's not the magnitude of the war, for example. It's a pandemic which was more or less, contained, more or less. But many of us have suffered. So what do we do about that? So how do you deal with that? So I'm just going to read this article. It's not that long, but it's really insightful. And I think it's a very nice way to reflect on Tisha B'Av, Sunday. Tisha B'Av is Sunday. What place do we leave to tragedies in our life? So this is what Rabbi Adina Lewitis writes. Fasting and praying for 25 hours isn't anyone's idea of a summer vacation. But that's not the only reason Tisha B'Av is among the least observed days on the Jewish calendar, despite its status of a major fast day shared only by Yom Kippur, with Yom Kippur. On Tisha B'Av, we lament the destruction of Jerusalem ancient temples. But in a Jewish world that for nearly 2,000 years has grown accustomed to living without a temple, many are conflicted over mourning an edifice that the vast majority are not interested in rebuilding. Andrea, will make you co-host, so if people join in the meantime, I'm not interrupted. Huh? Okay. Oh, actually, whatever. Okay. Let's not forget also that Jerusalem today is a modern, bustling city. While it contends with competing narratives that both animate and agitate its people and politics, it doesn't lie in ruins. The mourning for ancient Jerusalem isn't confined to the single day of dirges and dehydration. Apart from the extension of mourning practices to the 3 weeks prior to Tisha B'Av, actually it started on the 17th of Tammuz, and what we remember is the breaching of the walls of Jerusalem, and for 3 weeks the Roman legions went through the city, conquering house after house, until on the 9th of Av they reached the temple and destroyed it. That's a lot of fasting. There are other additional fasts, 3 additional minor fasts, which we don't even remember them, at least in a non-Orthodox setting. So that's a lot of fasting and mourning for a time most of us are no longer missing. We may recognize the impulse to ask, must we grieve today for the Jerusalem of yesterday? But few of us ask whether we are even permitted to do so. Yet it's hardly a modern question. The prophet Zechariah declared back in biblical times, thus said the Eternal of Hosts, the fast of the 4th month, which is Tammuz, the fast of the 5th month, which is the month of Av, Tisha B'Av, the fast of the 7th month from Tishrei, which is Yom Kippur, and the fast of the 10th month from Tevet, shall become occasions for joy and gladness, happy festivals for the house of Judah. But you must love honesty and integrity. Mourning the past seems to hinge on the present. If we find ourselves in strange circumstances, ritual mourning of past tragedies is embraced. If we aren't suffering, the meaning and necessity of such rituals are uncertain. But how do we determine the dictates of our time? Rabbi Chaim Ovadia unfolds the tapestry of medieval commentary upon this opaque Talmudic directive, trying to illuminate some direction for our generation. Some authorities, so he's referring to a passage of the Talmud which says, at times of peace, those days are days of joy and happiness. At times of persecution, these are fast days. If there is neither peace or persecution, it is people's choice whether to fast or not to fast. If you think about, what the choice that the Talmud has given to us to decide what we want to do with a practice is very important. Embedded within all these rulings was the recognition that times change and observance often changes along with them. One authority goes even further, ruling that in times of peace, when we are not subjugated to other nations, fasting is not even a matter of choice, it is forbidden entirely. Anything less would be a violation of a Torah prophecy that these days would turn joyful. Several thoughts-provoking insight emerge from these sources. Judaism recognizes that reality isn't always binary, war or peace, but there's a fluidity to life and society, and even to halakha, Jewish law, that indefinite space invites human conscious, individual or rabbinic, into the calculation of how to respond ritually. Uniformity isn't always the goal of communal observance. There's considerable tolerance for individualized expression, even within single families and communities. Preserving the tradition of the past without accounting for the present might just not violate biblical teachings like Zechariah's that provide for change, but could also distract people from their responsibilities to engage with the needs of their days. So she concludes by saying, Jewish remembrance isn't only about recalling the past, it's about building the future. Sometimes history and destiny is honored by ritualizing memories, sometimes by letting them go. I think, okay, so that's our conclusion. So the connection with what we went through now, I would draw a few conclusions for us today. At some point, we will have to acknowledge what happened. We have people in our community who have really, really suffered from COVID and have lost loved ones. So we'll have to acknowledge their pain. As a community, we have emerged, I would say, stronger from COVID. There are more ties. We have people who have joined us. We have developed a sense of communal space and care, which, I mean, it was there before already. So we just built on something that was with careless before, but it emerged stronger. So we have these two outcomes of the pandemic: the sheer pain and suffering, and at the same time the positive outcome. So we will have to acknowledge that and to understand that it's not binary, as she says. It's not war, peace. It's not bad and good. It's always a bit more complex than that. So as a community, we have created, I think, this space for all of us to find solace and comfort. And I'd like to finish with a reflection that we had at council, of course, and a group of council members and myself. We sat and we thought about, how do we reopen the synagogue now? How do we continue? How do we continue our communal life in a safe environment? And one of our council members said, we have to remember that we have a report of being a safe space, because over the 18 months, Careless took very seriously the safety and the well-being of its members, and I think this needs to be remembered. So I don't want to repeat what Craig has put in the newsletter. Please have a look. For the time being, we have some restrictions when we exceed a certain number of people going into the synagogue, which will impact next week Shabbat, and we will reconvene in August to decide what to do for the high holidays, because this is a big event for us. What do we do with that? And there's a lot of conversations among the liberal Judaism rabbis at the moment, and to be honest, some of them have decided to stay online for this year's high holidays, which is there's one council in one synagogue which has decided not to reopen at all. Some are hybrids like us with some restrictions. No synagogue has decided now, to say, okay, that's over, we're clear. Because despite I don't like when we talk about Freedom Day for next Monday, because it's the figures are not very positive, and it's rising in other parts of the world as well. So we still have to be careful. We have good reasons to be hopeful as well, because the vaccination program has shown it's how efficient it can be, but we still have to be very careful. And I can tell you that your council is listening to you and is taking care of you. Right. Okay. Dee, hello, Shabbat Shalom, Dee from Peterborough. It's good to have you with us today. So before we conclude our service, just a few announcements. Let me retrieve my email that Craig sent earlier this week. So tomorrow we have a family service, which is the last day of Beiteinu tomorrow. So they worked really, really hard. The teachers and the kids, they were really, really, really great. I'm really amazed by their commitment, and they stayed on board. And if you've seen some of the Bnei Mitzvah we had so far, they did really well. Tuesday evening, there is a spirituality reflection group on Zoom, which is open to all our members. It's just an hour every, 3-4 weeks, when we discuss a Jewish text, and we talk about, how this text reflects on us in terms of spirituality. And for this week, we've chosen a passage from the Pirkei Avot, the tractate, the chapters of the sages, which says, "Who is wise? The one who learns from every person. Who is brave? The one who subdues his negative inclination. Who is rich? The one who appreciates what he has, and who is honored? The one who gives honor to others. So that's a little text, a few lines that we'll discuss. And the purpose of this group is actually to deepen your spirituality. And you'll find out that people come with so many different backgrounds, so many different expectations, and so many different understanding what spirituality means. And it's really fascinating. So this week also the last of the classes on Tuesday evening, Explain Judaism at 8 p.m. A Torah lunch Friday, so there will be a recess until the end of August. And the next week, as I said, choral service in the synagogue and a community Shabbat morning to welcome our new members and to allow our older members to meet their new members in the garden, and of course with food. It's on the model of a Chavura supper we do on Friday evening. So people bring some food and we share. So of course it has to be vegetarian or fish, accepted fish like cod, salmon, haddock, etc. Right. So there is the new rules from July the 19th are in the newsletter, and I'm not going to read them. You can have so just the main point: the sanctuary will be open for most services, a continuing commitment to live streaming all services taking place in the synagogue, continuing measures to mitigate transmission risk. So we'll keep the windows open, the door open. We will keep a difference between people, and when we have a certain amount of people will keep the mask, while walking in the sanctuary. Congregational singing will be permitted now, and we will continue to the booking system. Right. Okay. So before we finish our service, I would like to read from the new Sidur Shira Chadasha, a text which is used sometime as alternative for the Aleinu. And the text is called, it's a poem by Marge Piercy. It's called The Task Never Completed. No task is ever completed, only abandoned or pressed into use. Tinkering can be a form of prayer. 26 botched worlds preceded Genesis, we are told in ancient commentary, and Hashem said not only. Not only of this particular attempt, it is good, but muttered, if only it will hold. Incomplete, becoming the world was given us to fix, to complete, and we've almost worn it out. My house was hastily built on the cheap. Leaks, rotting sills, the floor of a relief map of Idaho. Whenever I get some money, I stove up, repair, add on, replace. This improvisation permits me to squat here on the land that owns me. We evolve through mistakes, wrong genes, imitation gone wild. Each night's sleep unravels me into wool, then into sheep and wolf. Walls and fire pass through me. I birth stones. Every dawn, I stumble from the roaring vat of dreams and make myself up remembering and forgetting my hulls. Every dawn, I choose to take a knife to the world's flank or a sewing kit, rough improvisation, but a start. So on this Shabbat, there is no Yahrzeit on the KLS list. Do you have any name you would like to remember?
Yeah, right.
Well, say it, Shimon.
Yes.
Oh, Shimon, yes. Yeah, please go
on. My cousin Shimon Morad, who died day before yesterday.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Shimon. And I saw on Facebook of it. He was young, huh? He was
He's 51. He
51. Oh,
suffered from cancer for 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Zichrono livracha. May memories be a blessing for you and all your family.
Amen.
Is there any other name you would like to remember? So on page 5244, Shimon Morad, the cousin of Shimon, we say the Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתברר וישתבר ויתבאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ביחתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה הבא מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל בני אדם ואמרו אמן. Right, so let's finish now with Maya Fe'ayom. And if you want, those who are now on Zoom, if you want to unmute yourself and to join me, it's an easy one, so we won't overlap too much our sounds. So if you want to join me, please. Maya Fe'ayom, Shabbat Shalom. מה יפה היום, שבת שלום, שבת שבת שלום, שבת שבת שלום, שבת שבת שלום, שבת שלום. Adonai yishmor tzitecha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam. May the eternal one God, you come going out and you're coming in, now and always. Adonai oz le'amo yiten. Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Eternal God, grant strength to people. Eternal God, bless you people with peace. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So let's do the Kiddush.
Yes, and bread.
Okay. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et... No, sorry, that's the Shabbat morning one. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן, אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת, אמן. לחיים.
Alsace.
Good. Someone has taste, good taste.
Même le verre.
Who's got a challah tonight? Okay, let's have a good. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you.